Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chem 170 with your host, me, Dr. White. Hi, everybody. Guess what? The semester is just about over. And what that means is next week is our last week. So let me remind you, first of all, tonight I'll be doing a mini review, but let me remind you this coming Saturday on the 10th, at 10 a.m. or earlier. At that time, I'll be emailing you the password for the Chem 170 final exam PDF file. Now, you'll have until Tuesday, 8 p.m. on the 13th of May to take the final exam and upload your answers as a single PDF file to D2L. I reserve the right to subtract up to 100, yes, 100 points for anybody who doesn't follow instructions or anybody who doesn't upload your final exam on time. I have a deadline where I have to get the grades in. You're not the only class I teach, so please get the final uploaded by Tuesday, 8 p.m. That's why I started, instead of normally I would have done it Monday morning, I started Saturday morning. So there's no reason why any of you shouldn't be able to finish the final and get it uploaded by Tuesday the 13th, 8 p.m. Now, take as much time as you want as long as you get it uploaded on time. But if we are face to face, normally students take anywhere from 75 minutes to 90 minutes, an hour and a half to finish the Chem 170 final. This will not be an open notes test. The final has 32 problems, 18 pages. Let me get this out of the way. It has some of the problems have multiple parts. The point breakdown is general knowledge, 30 points, nomenclature, 62, 118 for reactions, and it adds up to 210. So there's 10, 10, yes, 10 bonus points. Now, from material from tests throughout the semester, the final breaks down. Test one has 35 points, test 2, 60, test 3, 58 points, test 4, 53, and new material, amino acids and proteins, 4 points. All right. Now, I would highly recommend that you watch each of these YouTube videos for an in-depth review, which I'm not going to do tonight. The other thing I would highly recommend, since you all kept them, is use your hourly exams as practice problems. Why put the same problems on the final? No. Why put similar ones? Of course. Just like the practice problems were similar, not the same, as what you saw in the hourly exams. Don't forget, turn in your labs by tomorrow afternoon or evening. Posted all lab scores. Check if you handed in a lab and it's not graded by tomorrow evening, email me. Now, one thing I do have to admit, and I sent out an email, and here's an announcement. Uh, in D2L, there's a faculty view and a student view. And for different things in the assignment area, once they're posted, I also, excuse me, have to make it visible. Guess what? I forgot to make lab 13, the carbohydrates, visible to you so you can do the lab. But it is now, and I'll give you until the 13th to do it. Now, good news. This is a real quick lab, couple minutes in the video. Do the lab, answer the questions. It shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes to do the whole lab and get it uploaded to D2L. And again, remember this Saturday, I'll be giving uh, starting to give the Chem 170 final. You'll have until Tuesday, 8 p.m. next week to finish it. Now, I'm not going to do an in-depth review right now because that's what these are right here. And this is from the posting, the announcement for the final exam information. These three videos, I do a complete in-depth review of the whole semester. So you might want to watch them. But what I do want to do tonight is the following. There are a couple important things you should know leaving my class. I'll say that again. There are a couple of things you should know leaving my class. Hint, big hint. So let's go through those things. Oh, I got choked up over all this. The first thing you should know leaving my class, you should know how does soap work. And soap, all soap molecules have a nonpolar tail. I can spell. I think I told you in the videos, Dr. White was always the first one down in a spelling bee. And soap has a polar head. And water is polar. And dirt and grease, things you want to get off your hands or other things, is nonpolar. Now, the key to how soap works is the rule of thumb, and I'm going to do it in red because it's so important, like dissolves like. And because of that, we have a dirt particle, it's nonpolar, and because like dissolves like, the tails of the soap are attracted to the dirt particles, and the head, which is polar, wants to be as far away. And if you have dirt, you'll have a lot of molecules of soap. And this totally surrounds the soap, the dirt particle, with soap molecules. And this forms a micelle. Now, since the outside of the micelle is the polar heads, and water is polar and like dissolves like, the micelle looks polar to water. I hope you all know water is H2O. You should. And therefore, water says to the micelle, I'm polar, you're polar, let's go down the drain together. And they do. And that's how soap works. To clean something, how does soap work? You should know that soap has a non-polar tail, polar head. Water is polar, dirt and grease are non-polar. The most important thing of how does soap work is the rule of thumb. See, it's on this thumb. No, it's actually on this one. But anyways, like dissolves like. That means things that are polar are soluble in polar things. Things that are non-polar are soluble in non-polar. You mix two together, they're not. And you saw that in one of the labs you did. And here we have a dirt particle. And when you use soap and water, the soap forms a micelle, which is the dirt in the center, surrounded by with the tails going to the dirt and the head on the outside surrounding the dirt. And now the micelle looks polar to water. And because of that, and like the cells like, the water says to the micelle, I'm polar, you're polar, let's go down the drain together. And they do. And that's how you get clean. Your hands, your clothes, your dishes, whatever you use soap to clean. All right, leaving my class, you should be able to describe with words and a general reaction three things. What happens when you eat a fat or oil? What happens when you eat a carbohydrate? And what happens when you eat a protein? Again, you should be able to describe, leaving my class, hint, big hint, what happens when you eat a fat or oil? What happens when you eat a carbohydrate? And what happens when you eat a protein, something with protein in your stomach? And let's go through that. And what's in your stomach? Acid and water. So this is acid, hydrolysis. That means the acid and water react on a functional group. What's the key functional group in a fat and oil? And that is an ester. So this is acid hydrolysis of an ester. And what's the general reaction for acid hydrolysis? And hold on, let me clean up this little spot here. There we go. What's the general reaction for acid hydrolysis of an ester? An ester reactant, you can put HCl or H plus in water, acid and water, and you get back the carboxylic acid. Oops. I had our group on the mind. The carboxylic acid plus the alcohol you would have used to make that ester. So how did you describe when you eat a fat or oil, what's the chemical reaction, general chemical reaction that your stomach breaks it down? And by words, it's acid hydrolysis of an ester. And here's the general reaction you learn for test three. Ester, acid, and water. Remember, H plus is acid. H2O, I hope you all know by now, is water. You get back the carboxylic acid and the alcohol you would have used to make that ester. Now, what happens when you eat a carbohydrate? And what's in your stomach? Well, acid and water. So again, this is acid hydrolysis, describing with words. Now, what's the key functional group that holds glucose molecules together in a carbohydrate? And that is an acetal. And the general reaction for acid hydrolysis of an acetal or ketal that you learned for test 2 this is our acetal, or on R prime is H. If it's carbons, it's a ketal, but same thing. And you have acid and water, and you get back the ketone or aldehyde you would have used to make that acetal or ketal, plus the alcohol you would have used to make that acetal or ketal. So when you eat a carbohydrate, how do you describe with words in a general reaction? With words, that's acid hydrolysis of an acetal. The general reaction, acetal or ketal, acid and water, you get back the aldehyde or ketone, plus the alcohol you would have used to make that acetal or ketal. And now the final thing. How do you describe with words in a general reaction what happens when you eat something with a protein in it? Well, again, in your stomach, there's acid and water, so that's called acid hydrolysis. Now, what's the key functional group that keeps amino acids together to form a protein? And that is an amide. The key functional group that holds amino acids together in a protein is an amide. And how do you describe this with words in a general reaction? Well, again, with words, it's acid hydrolysis of an amide. And for test 3, here we have our amide. And you don't have to put down R prime and R double prime can be H, but I will. And we're reacting with, and now we're going to do HCl, which is the acid in your stomach. I always think of it as one of the miracles of life that you and I have cells in our body, in our stomach, that synthesize, that's the fancy word for make, hydrochloric acid, HCl. And you have water. And what do you get back? You get back the carboxylic acid that you would have used to make that amide. But the amine you get back is a base, and it reacts with the HCl in your stomach to form this amine salt. And if you don't want to put charges, you don't have to, but I do because I think it's cool. So how do you describe with words and a general reaction what happens when you eat a protein? And that's acid hydrolysis of an amide. And the general reaction is an amide plus HCl and water gives you the carboxylic acid you would have used to make that amide plus the amine salt of the amine that you would have used to make that amide. So let's go through this again. Leaving my class, you should know how to describe with words and a general reaction what happens when you eat a fat or oil. That's acid hydrolysis of an ester. The key functional group in a fat or oil is an ester. And the general reaction is ester, acid, and water. You get back the carboxylic acid plus the alcohol you would have used to make that ester. Now, when you eat a carbohydrate, again, in your stomach is acid and water, so it's acid hydrolysis. What's the key functional group that holds glucose together in carbohydrates? And that's an acetal. So describing with words, when you eat a carbohydrate, that's acid hydrolysis of an acetal. And here we have what you learned for test 2, an acetal or ketal. When R prime is H, that's the acetal, acid and water. You get back the aldehyde or ketone plus the alcohol you would have used to make that acetal or ketal. And finally, when you eat a protein, what's the key functional group that keeps amino acids together in a protein? And that's an amide. And because there's acid and water in your stomach, the key reaction that a protein undergoes when you're digesting it is acid hydrolysis of an amide. And for test 3, you learn that an amide and with HCl and water, acid and water, you get back the carboxylic acid you would have used to make that amide, plus the amine salt. Remember, amines are basic. In the presence of acid, it forms the amine salt of the amine you would have used to make that amide. Now, the first video, I'm pretty sure I said, you don't know that my world of organic chemistry is your world of organic chemistry. But now you do know, and I can say, my world of organic chemistry is your world of organic chemistry, and you know about it. And most people in this country or even on the planet don't know the things about organic chemistry that you now know. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't figured out, I really love organic chemistry. It's been a major part of my life, like just about all of it. And I hope you enjoyed this class. If you like what I did, please go to ratemyprofessor.com and let them know. If you didn't like what I did, you can go there too. But I hope you like what I did. And with that, before I say goodbye, next week is the last week. I still will have office hours. If you need any help, feel free to reach out to me. Don't forget to hand in your labs. Don't forget the carbohydrate lab I posted late today. Work on that and get it done by the 13th. And with that, it's the end of the semester just about now. And I'll say Gehen gesund, which means go in health in Yiddish. And I'll go, what I'm going to do now. Bye now. Bye now. Stole that from Granny and the Beverly Hillbillies. Bye.